On the morning of February 2nd, 2006, a woman in Hong Kong did not wake up. Her name was Anita Moorjani. She was 44 years old, and she had been dying slowly for 4 years. The oncologist who saw her that morning told her husband directly, "Your wife's heart may still be beating, but she's not really there. It's too late to save her. Her organs have already shut down. Her tumors have grown to the size of lemons throughout her lymphatic system, from the base of her skull to below her abdomen. Her brain is filled with fluid, as are her lungs." She had 36 hours, possibly less. What happened next has been reviewed by oncologists, documented by the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation, and described by one reviewing physician, in his exact words, as medically inexplicable. Anita had been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2002. For 4 years, she had refused chemotherapy, partly from fear and partly from a belief that the treatment would destroy what little quality of life she had left. By February 2006, the cancer had spread everywhere. She could not walk. She was connected to an oxygen tank at home. She had open skin lesions. Her lymph nodes throughout her entire body were compromised. By the time she lost consciousness that morning, her body had surrendered completely. And yet, unbeknownst to everyone standing beside her bed, Anita was more alive than she had ever been. She described leaving her body, not gradually, completely. She could see her body lying on the hospital bed. She could see outside the room. She could even see her brother boarding a plane in another country on his way to her. She later said, "It was like I left my body and my consciousness had expanded. I was everywhere, in a godlike state, where I could see my loved ones and feel the presence of other souls." She heard the conversation between her husband and the doctors taking place in a hallway 40 feet away from her room. Not fragments. The full conversation. She later recounted it to her husband word for word. He confirmed it. She had been in a coma. Her organs were failing. She heard it anyway. Then she was somewhere else entirely. She was met by familiar souls, her father, who had died years earlier, and her closest friend, who had also passed. There, the burdens of identity dissolved. No longer was she shaped by culture, race, religion, or the fear that had defined so much of her adult life. She described the feeling she had never experienced in 44 years of physical existence. Complete, unconditional love, not directed at her, surrounding her, from everything, from the fabric of whatever place she was in. And then she understood something. She said the understanding arrived not as a thought, but as a knowing, instant, complete, absolute. She understood why she had developed cancer. She had spent her life in fear, fear of failing, fear of not being enough, fear of death itself, ironically. And that fear, sustained over decades, had manifested in her body. She saw it clearly. She saw her entire life laid out, not as memory, but as understanding. Every thread, every connection, every cause. She also understood that she could go back. She had a choice to continue or to return, and she knew with the same absolute certainty that she knew everything else in that place, that if she returned she would heal, not might heal, would. She chose to return. What happened to her body over the following days is where Anita's case leaves the realm of NDE research and enters the realm of medical mystery. Within 4 days of coming out of her coma, her tumors had shrunk by approximately 70%. Within 5 weeks, she was completely cancer-free and discharged from hospital. Her doctors did not know what to say. Within 3 weeks, they could find no trace of cancer in my body, Anita said. The doctors were astounded. They didn't know what to write in the medical records. Some suggested the chemotherapy, which she had finally begun after regaining consciousness, had worked with unusual speed. Others pointed out that, given the state of her failing organs, a chemotherapy response of that speed and totality was without precedent. Oncologist Dr. Peter Coe reviewed her complete medical records. He concluded that chemotherapy could not have occasioned such a dramatic recovery given the state of her failing organs, and that it could have been highly toxic at that stage. His assessment, either her mind or body was able to send a message to the cancer cells to turn off the mutated genes. Chemotherapy does work well with Hodgkin's, but I've never seen it work like this. He told her directly, "Any way I look at it, you should be dead." Dr. Jeffrey Long, the oncologist who runs the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation and who has reviewed thousands of NDE accounts, called Anita's case one of the most profound ever reported and described her recovery as medically inexplicable. Anita Moorjani remains cancer-free to this day. She has never had a recurrence. She wrote a book, Dying to Be Me, which became a New York Times bestseller. She has spoken to medical professionals and researchers across the world. She does not claim to have all the answers. She claims only what she experienced and what the medical records show. The experience, the choice, the return, and a body that did something her oncologists had no framework for. Beyond clinical follows the evidence. In Anita Moorjani's case, the evidence is a coma, a conversation heard through walls, a father met on the other side, and tumors the size of lemons that were gone in 5 weeks. The oncologist said any way he looked at it, she should be dead. She is not.